I sipped on my hot tea, begging it to soothe my raw throat. I had been suffering from a crippling cough for 2 weeks now. I couldn't seem to shake it no matter what I tried. I felt like cough drops were the only flavor I'd ever taste again. My chest hurt from all the heaving and hacking, a deep irritation that flared whenever I would fall into its fits. I sat up a little more in bed, listening to my empty apartment. I wished I had someone here to take care of me, like a loving girlfriend or even just a close friend. Nope. Just me. I hurriedly took another steaming sip of tea, cutting off another cough in my throat. I needed to go to sleep. The repetitive wheezing exhausting my sick body. The tea helped, if only momentarily. Any respite from my illness was welcome through, and I let the hot liquid coat my throat in its herbal warmth. I don't know why I couldn't rid myself of this cough. I'd seen the doctor twice about it, but no matter what he prescribed, the intolerable hacking continued. Miserable, I set my mug down on the nightstand, giving in to my drooping eyelids. As I slid down into my covers, I felt my chest hitch, and I wrecked out a series of scratchy wheezes. I closed my eyes and grit my teeth against the sharp pain in my throat and chest. Every time I coughed, it felt like a hammer being drilled into my sternum. The walls of my throat cried out as if I had swallowed razor blades. I just wanted to sleep. The moon trickled in from my window and washed over my face in a cool white glow. I wondered what the moon tasted like. Probably like a fucking honey lemon cough drop. I turned over on my side, clutching my chest as I hacked again, my body convulsing with rapid punches of pain. I groaned. I blindly grabbed another cough drop from my mountain on the nightstand and unwrapped it in the dark. I needed a new flavor. Sighing, I popped it into my mouth, and my taste buds were soon flooded with the familiar taste of being miserable but trying. Even sucking on the fake candy, I felt a tickle in the back of my throat. It was a sensation I had become familiar with and grown to despise. It meant a big one was coming. I sucked on the cough drop harder. My chest was killing me. It felt like a collapsed cavern, and all my organs were trying their best to work around the rubble. The tickle again. I put my hand around my throat, squeezing my eyes closed so hard they watered. My lungs filled with air, and I expelled it in a series of thunderous explosions. I thought I had tasted blood as my bones crunched around my lungs. Gasping, the spasms passed, and I wiped my lips with a shaking hand. I took slow, deliberate breaths, begging the ache gripping my body to cease. I felt like I was trapped in a giant vice that was slowly squeezing me tighter and tighter. I cleared my throat and felt the tickle again, but this time it was stronger. I slapped my neck, trying to batter the feeling away. I needed to sleep, escape this torture for a couple of hours. I knew I wouldn't be able to if the itching kept up. Tonight was worse than it had ever been. After 2 weeks, the sickness seemed to be reaching its climax, and I dreaded the inevitable long night ahead of me. I realized I had sucked a cough drop out of existence, so I reached for another. They were my only chance, my blue pill. Let me forget Morphus. I sucked the wretched thing and settled back down into my bed. I spaced out my breathing and forced my body to settle. As if by magic, my body remained silent. I gently sucked on the drop like a pacifier, slowly feeling sleep creep closer. I was almost there. My thoughts began to slur together like running paint. Soon they were being wrestled from me and formed into half dreams. I gave in and let my subconscious take them. My eyes snapped open suddenly as my throat erupted in intense discomfort. A tickling so strong that I sat upright as the cough rocketed from my chest like a cannon blast. I crouched over in bed, gripping the sheets in my shaking fists. My throat felt like I was expelling glass shards as I hacked. My chest screamed from the force of my wheezing, and I suddenly saw blood splatter onto my comforter. I didn't stop, my body convulsing as the seizure of hacking agony took me in its violent grip. My head cracked and my ribs screamed, a hurricane of sickness drowning my senses. Suddenly, I felt something enter my throat, brought on by an especially brutal cough. It tasted awful, and it felt like a gelatinous mass of congested mucus. It was stuck in the bottom of my throat like a lump of wet cloth, and I gagged, trying to force it from my bloody windpipe. My eyes watered and bulged as I realized it was blocking my airflow. Panicked, I desperately forced my coughs to come harder, clenched my chest muscles, and blasting air up my blocked windpipe. I dry heaved as I felt a wet mass flop around my throat, and the familiar tickling returned, bringing with it such discomfort that my stomach gave in. Vomit volcanoed from my churning gut, and I leaned over the bed as it rushed towards my gaping mouth. Because of the blockage, the puke redirected and ejaculated out of my nostrils. It felt like wet fire as it splashed onto the floor, twin streams of boiling lava. I wiped my nose, mouth still open and drool stringing from my lips. I couldn't fucking breathe. I got up and rushed to the bathroom, feeling the mass of gooey substance twist in my throat like it was alive. Hyperventilating, I crashed into the bathroom and turned the light on. I jammed on the sink and immediately sucked my head to drink. The water splashed down my throat, but came gurgling back up. I gagged it back into the sink, now colored pink from the blood in my mouth. I was beginning to get dizzy, my lungs starting to ache from the lack of oxygen. I knew I didn't have long to get the blockage out of my throat. I opened my mouth and leaned towards the mirror, trying to see what it was causing it. My eyes widened, and I felt my stomach flip again. No, it was impossible. In horror, I stared at the second tongue that grew from the back of my throat. It was much larger than the one in my mouth, and I watched as it flicked about on its own, writhing like a wet worm. I watched as the tip of it licked the back of my throat, and I immediately felt that familiar scratching itch I had grown used to. I tried to scream, but the air wouldn't come out. The corners of my vision had begun to darken, and I felt my head swelling. I knew I had seconds. Without thinking, I jammed my hand down my throat, my jaw cracking as it was forced open. Tears leaked from the corner of my eyes as I desperately tried to grip that squirming mass of flesh. It was like trying to grab a bloody caterpillar, and my fingers slid from its wet surface as it twisted away. Drool ran down my arm in slobbery curtains, and my bloodshot eyes squeezed shut, trying not to vomit again. There! I caught the tongue in a vice-like grip between my thumb and pointer finger. I slowly pulled it up my throat to grip it into my fist. It fought against me, but I wouldn't let it go. It was a prisoner in my soaked hand, and I could feel it trying to wiggle back down my throat into my chest from where it had grown. I suddenly vomited again, the rush of hot bile escaping from my nose and down into my open mouth. I coughed and gagged and it dripped down my throat, but I never loosened my grip on that mass of flesh. Pain blossomed in a brilliant blaze of red across my vision as I began to pull the tongue out by its roots. My chest erupted in heart-stopping agony as I felt the spiderweb of veins and muscles begin to pop. I screamed, my hands shaking as blood and vomit mixed and poured from my mouth down my chin. I could feel the tongue dislodging from its roots, a sickening tearing feeling in my chest. The tongue fought back, but I never stopped ripping it out, despite the blinding pain. With a defiant shriek, I felt the last root rip free, like I was pulling a small tree from the soil. I retracted my hand, gripping the now motionless tongue, and collapsed onto the floor. Air rushed back into my lungs in great waves of sweet relief. I spit wads of phlegm and blood onto the tile, my bloody hands trembling in my lap. I looked at the dead tongue and saw that it was at least 7 inches in length. Disgusted and horrified, I threw it into the toilet. I don't know how long I sat there, gasping, before I could get up. I couldn't stop spitting. I couldn't stop thinking about how that thing had been growing inside me, reaching up into my throat as if to tickle me. I wiped the tears from my face and drew in a long, trembling breath. I didn't cough. I hope you ghouls are enjoying these 13 days of Halloween videos. A video every day for 13 days. It's really challenging me. I am like falling asleep recording right now. It's early and we went to the pumpkin festival yesterday and I tried to vlog, but that didn't happen. If you follow me on Twitter, you know why. But yeah, let me know if you're liking this daily video thing. Maybe I'll start doing like a video like every other day. Maybe. I don't know. Let me know what you ghouls think. But as always, the last video will be on the top left. The next video will be on the bottom left. All my social medias are on the screen, as well as in the description box below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.